俺の拳を試すか Come on!
This is gonna be a match to remember. Fight!
Welcome back to another episode of the Slovenly Gamer Podcast. I am your host, Milton. And on today's show, oh man, this is the second time now. So the first time I recorded outside of the Slovenly Gamer studio was with the homie Dr. Stance, Paul. The second time I'm doing it, it's kind of serendipitous because the second person I'm doing this with is a close friend to Paul. And they sometimes host Wednesday Night Fights second stream together, the Nick Tonella stream. Now, the gentleman that I'm speaking of is the two-time Wednesday Night Fights champion. Yeah. And he's a serious young killer. You know, he switched from Brady to Karen, and he's been putting in the work. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. He's everyone's favorite cooled out musician. FGC musician, exactly, with the Barry White voice.
Yeah.
That's right, baby.
That's right.
All right, guys, you know him. It's the homie Wrathmatics. Wrath, what's up, bro?
Yeah, what's going on, man? Thank you for having me on this podcast. You are in my home. You know, you are a guest. You sip the tea.
Yes.
I say shit on the podcast.
Dude,
hey, can we curse on this
cool,
podcast?
Of course you
okay,
can.
Cool.
Dude, this is FGC. What the fuck is wrong with
man,
you?
we're not esports. Fuck that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. You know what I'm saying? It should be called fucking FGC.
Fucking FGC.
Yeah, it should be F squared. F squared GC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man. I'm all about that. That sounds cool. Capcom would be totally excited for that.
She's like, oh my God, what are you doing? All this bad language.
That's what Hans sounds like. Lord Hans. That's what he sounds like.
So, talk to me, man. A lot of people see your face on stream. They see you playing different things like that. But introduce yourself to the people who may not necessarily know much about you or know who you are, you know, aside from just Wrathmatics.
Yeah, I mean,
so who is Wrathmatics?
If you've seen me on stream, you know that I'm Sal or Wrathmatics, aka FGC Whoopi Goldberg, aka Young Jaden Smith. That's what the internet says, at least. No,
that's pretty good, Jaden Smith.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty good, actually.
I don't want to talk about it.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah, man, I'm just like a dude. I stream. I stream on Twitch. I make some YouTube videos. I play bass. That's kind of like the main thing is like trying to balance, you know, fighting games and music, because those are like the two passions right now,
right,
of my life. So it's cool, man. You know, I really like music and I really like Street Fighter. And those are the
how does that
things.
Like, are you able to kind of like balance those two worlds? Because I know sometimes with a musician, I know musicians, you know, personal friends of mine, and sometimes it's music kind of consumes you, but not in a negative way, and sometimes gaming can equally consume you. So like, how do you keep that balance?
It's tough. I mean, it's pretty much one thing has to give. It's kind of like a 70-30 split at any given time. So you know, sometimes I'll be more focusing on music and writing and performing, and then, you know, maybe I won't be doing as good in Street Fighter, and then, you know, recently I've kind of been pushing music back a little bit, you know, still playing, still practicing, but not really improving at the same rate.
Right.
In favor of practicing for Street Fighter, and I'm kind of starting to see more results and more improvement in that realm. But it's like, it definitely is tough, man. It's a tough balance. I think it has to do a lot with time management,
which
I feel like is super, you know, super important with learning any skill, especially if you want to juggle multiple skills. You have to have really good time management. It's crucial.
Yeah. So now we know that, you know, you've been doing this for a while, and it may seem easy to a certain extent for someone outside looking in.
Yeah.
But that's because you've been doing music for a pretty long time, right?
That's true.
Like,
yeah. It's 8 years now.
8 years. So at what point during that time did you get into gaming? What came first, actually? So what came first? Was it music or gaming?
It was gaming, absolutely.
Really?
When I was 3 years old, it was. I don't remember. I don't remember if I was 2.5 or 3, but I remember what happened. My babysitter at the time is a dude named Ricky, super dope dude. Shout out to Ricky wherever he is. And he brought over his PlayStation 1 as like a thing. Like, hey, I'm gonna bring over the PlayStation. We're gonna play some video games. It's gonna be dope.
Nice.
And he brought over 2 games. Mm-hmm. He brought over Siphon Filter.
Yes.
And Tekken 2.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so he introduced you to some serious gaming classics there.
This is where it started. Yeah. And I was like 3 or 4, 2.5, 3, 4, somewhere around that age. Yeah. My mother was like, okay, maybe not Siphon Filter. We can chill on the whole murdering spies thing.
Yeah.
And Tekken, that was like the only game that I could play. So every time he would babysit us, he'd come over for like 3 or 4 hours while my mother was working. And I would just play Tekken 2. And like that was the only thing I want. Like I just played Tekken. Like that was the game was so sick. It was like I never, played a video game really like that before.
Right. Yeah, man, and that's like early stages of like 3D, kind of like 3D style fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember the graphics were ridiculous. I remember looking at martial law. I was like, yo, this is so realistic. He looks just like Bruce Lee,
right?
Yeah. And of course, I played, martial law. Bruce Lee characters.
Right, which we're going to talk to later. How meta,
for
kind
sure,
of meta that
for sure.
is.
Yeah. And it was a really shaping experience, I suppose. Because it definitely influenced who I am now. It started a love for fighting games very early on, and that was kind of how I fell into gaming. Yeah.
So where was your trajectory in terms of like gaming after that specifically? Like, so where did you go? Was it kind of like, did you kind of like taper off and then kind of like it hit you heavy in like the late late teens? Like,
no, it was a consistent thing. It was. I really looked forward to the babysitter coming over just so I could play Tekken 2. And eventually I would just go and start talking about it. I started talking about how do you beat Kazuya? Like I could never beat him. Stage 9 was impossible. And then my mother, for my birthday that year, got me a PlayStation. And she got Tekken 2. And she got another controller for my sister. So me and my sister used to play. And we had like a little rivalry going.
So your sister is a gamer too?
Yeah. She's actually she's kind of legit at Tekken. I'm not gonna she doesn't like get deep into the game.
How come she doesn't come out to the scene?
Yeah,
man?
right? Well, dude, when's Tekken 7? When is Tekken 7?
Oh, you know what? I'm totally gonna put pressure on her now.
Yeah, no, she's I honestly I can't tell if she's good at fighting games or if she can just beat me. It's like one of those things where we played so much for years that it doesn't matter how many tournaments I win. She can still whoop my ass. So, but yeah, so it started with the PlayStation, and then I played Tekken, and then Spyro the Dragon.
Yes.
And then PlayStation 2 came out.
Yep.
And that was like, whoa, okay, slow down. This is
Mind
crazy.
blown.
Yeah, man.
Playing music and.
Yeah, no, it was like you could do
crazy.
everything. You could throw a CD in that thing, and it was like, boom.
It was kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it had the graphics on it too. Like I was jamming out on the PS2 because I didn't have a CD player.
And a lot of people don't remember not only the CD player. The interesting thing about PlayStation at that time was, I think, if I can remember correctly, and if I'm wrong, please tweet at me, guys. Tweet at us. Let me know, Sal. Even if you remember, let me know. I think that was like one of the earliest stages that you saw kind of like movie cutscenes, because the disc had the space and were actually able to do it. So when you saw games like Final Fantasy and like earlier RPG games, the cutscenes and the CGIs were much more like beautiful and cinematic and expressive. I mean, when you got back to the actual gameplay,
still looked like ass.
It looked like ass. But
it looked like KOF 14.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's man. Wow. So you were there. So you kind of like came up through the echelon of like the whole gaming experience in terms of like the 90s and things like that. Absolutely. So now switching gears, like, you kind of were introduced, and I think in a very good way, in a very interesting way, more than many, you were introduced through, the auspice of fighting games and not necessarily adventure games or other games like, more, I think the casual person or even the more experienced person in the community, I feel like their first experience was maybe like Sonic, for those of us who are a little bit older, and different things like that, Pac-Man. It's not necessarily fighting games, so it's interesting, and I think it's very key to have your first kind of foray into the gaming world be Tekken, and like, you know what I'm saying, like be this amazing fighting game that's like legendary. So going through that, as you got older, did you kind of started to experience the gaming universe in the arcade scene, or what was that like out here? Because this is like, you grew up in California, right? So it's like,
I mean, I used to go to Family Fun Arcade every once in a while.
Okay.
Another babysitter I had would drive us up there. And it was cool, and it was definitely not something that I understood. You know what I mean? I would go. I mostly just wanted to play Tekken Tag. Like that was the main thing. The game was so dope. Yoshimitsu theme was like,
oh my
was
gosh,
ridiculous. Dude. So I would just I would go over. I played Third Strike a little bit. You know, I wanted to play the blonde buff dude. Everybody's like, nah, dude, don't play that character. He sucks. I'm like, but he's so hyped though. Like, and there wasn't really too much of an arcade scene for me. I mean, I guess the biggest one would be the Santa Monica Pier.
Okay.
They had a Tekken Tag cabinet over
really?
there. So yeah. So
I've never been into that arcade.
Yeah, it's not a good arcade.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a good arcade for fighting games at all.
Okay, so time not wasted, right? Just like
pretty much. But it was
decision.
like, we would every time we went to Disneyland or we went to the Santa Monica Pier, my family would all be going on rides and doing all that, and I would just be in the arcade trying to play Tekken. So
yeah, man, I had that experience in Coney Island actually. I don't know if you ever like New York, Coney Island, the arcades there, dude, back in the day.
Yeah,
legit. Then I grew up going to Chinatown Fair as well too. So
okay, yeah.
Nice. I know I'm aging myself, folks. I am. It's okay though, Yeah, I still look young.
That's the important part. Moisturizer.
So when did you actually become a part of the FGC, of the SoCal FGC?
It was in 2011, and
okay.
I remember when. Well, I guess I was a part of the FGC a little bit before that, but never traveling to anything.
Mm-hmm.
But in late 2011, I remember I had messaged UCLA player. It's a dude named Jason. He's not really in the scene too much anymore.
Okay.
But he was a huge pillar of the SoCal FGC in LA because he was hosting casuals at his spot in West LA, right next to UCLA. So
wow.
That's pretty close to me. It's like a 15-minute drive, So I was on the SRK forums, and it was like the regional matchmaking thread.
Yeah.
His dude was like, yeah, West LA casuals come through, we'll host a tournament, $5, winner takes all type thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that sounds super cool. Maybe I won't win the tournament. And at the time also I was mostly playing Marvel.
Okay.
Because Marvel 3 had just dropped. And that was like my main game. I was really taking that one seriously. But I had still played Street Fighter 4. Like I saw the advertisement for Street Fighter 4, and I was like, yo, Third Strike was dope. Maybe this game will be dope too.
Okay.
And I remember I picked Sagat, and my mindset when Vanilla dropped was like, if at any point during the match you're blocking, you are losing. That's just how that works. You should never block. Honestly, you should uppercut. Anytime you feel like blocking is a good idea, just mash uppercut. Like it makes more sense. And honestly, it wasn't that bad of a plan.
Yeah.
Like with how much damage Sagat did, like
DP.
honestly, I think that was smart.
DP.
DP, just do it.
That's how like Sanford, Kelly, and even was it Ryan? Like Ryan kind of like played them a little bit like that too. They was just like mash DP on you, man.
Yeah, it did so much damage. Yeah, man. Especially if you're playing against like Akuma. You just hit like 3 of them, you kill him. Like his health bar was done. It was dope. Yeah, but sorry to trail off.
No, it's cool. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, back to FGC. It was 2011. I sent him a message on SRK saying, "Hey man, I'm 15. Is it cool if I show up?" Because they were like, they were drinking and cursing. There was like a Twitch archive of it. And I was like, let me feel this out. And he was like, yeah, dude, it's no problem. I was actually 14 at the time. I lied about my age. Yeah. I had to bump it up a little bit. And I went over to UCLA player's house, and it was cool. We played Marvel tournaments. Like nobody really showed up for that. There was like maybe like 12 people. Half of them didn't play Marvel. They just entered because it was there.
Right.
And I used to play in those. I won a couple of those. And then in the Street Fighter side, players like Valiant, Hugo 101, A Boss, Mark Teddy, Velociraptor, Driftwood, all these people were showing up to Jason's house to play Street Fighter. And I was like, man, Street Fighter sucks. Marvel's way more hype.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's like, killers that are showing up to this guy's
I was
place.
just going to say that. Like, that's like that's murderer's row, man.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of really, like, there was sick Street Fighter play going on in that house. And that's actually where I met all these people. That's where I met Hugo 101 and Valiant and all these people that are now, I consider, like, close friends.
Yeah.
Not just in fighting games, but, like, outside of fighting games.
Right.
I met all of them through that, that first interaction, just messaging on the SRK forums, man.
Yeah, that's dope, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
So now, what eventually led you, because you're talking about how hyped you were for Marvel and not necessarily for, and it's funny because I was just having this conversation last night in Wednesday Night Fights with the homie Sean Outlaw.
Yeah.
And we are kind of like,
I'm a frauder.
like, man, like, 4. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like vanilla.
Vanilla, yeah, that game was a mess.
It was rough. It was rough. So what kind of led you to kind of like pick it up seriously? Because you did kind of pick it up seriously. You eventually, and this is where the meta that we were talking about earlier, you eventually went on to play Faye.
Yeah, I did.
So what kind of led you to actually picking the game up? Was it just the community, or like what was it?
It was, I don't know. I mean, I just always liked fighting games. Was the main thing. It was like I saw the advertisement for Street Fighter 4, and it like they had an ad campaign that was really hype. Like they put out all these different for Super. So for Vanilla, it was just like I like fighting games, so I'm gonna pick up this game, and it was pretty dope. It had like that championship system where you like rank up and all that. So I was playing that, and it was cool, but I wasn't really taking it that seriously. You know what I mean? Because actually at the time I was kind of on first-person shooters because I'm just a fan of competitive play. You know?
Same here. Yeah.
So I was playing Call of Duty. I was actually on a team for Rainbow Six, and I was a sub on the team, and the team was sponsored by Monster. So
wait,
it was
what?
Like, yeah, I know. I don't even remember the name of the team.
I don't want to trail off, but let's trail off a little bit. Let's talk about that because this is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So you were you were a sub on a sponsored team.
Yeah. It was like the furthest like lowest possible sub, but my friend was the founder of the team, and he was like, "Yo, you're a sub now," and I was like, "Sick." And I was going to fly out to a tournament in Texas, but I was 12 at the time, so. Logistically, it didn't really work out because my mother would have to fly with me and blah blah blah. So, but yeah, that was I really like video games and I really like competitive things. And
So what happened to the team?
I don't know. Once they realized I couldn't fly out anywhere because the rest of them they were like all in Texas and then one was in Florida.
Okay.
But they were like willing to travel and I was like I can't. I can't dump 12.
That's fair. Like, yeah, it's just like, what do you want me to do?
So they were like, all right, well, I guess
you're out of here.
Yeah, see you in a couple of years. Yeah, so that wasn't a thing, but it was dope. I got pretty good at the game. I mean, at least in my mind, I was pretty good. I didn't really lose that much. It was kind of learning about the game, which was dope. But yeah, it was just like I played game battles for Call of Duty. I played, all the typical 12-year-old kid playing first-person shooter things.
So did you do any Halo or?
Yes. Oh yeah. Very big on Halo. That was on the original Xbox. That was like Halo was the game.
I love that game so much, man. Yeah. Halo was such an awesome game. I ended up getting into a conversation with someone last night at Wednesday Night Fights about that. It was absolutely amazing. I loved it, man, dude. But this is so interesting. I didn't even know that you were like on a you were quasi on a sponsored team.
Yeah, man.
Doing that kind of stuff. That's very interesting. So now let's jump forward ahead. Like you had all these amazing experiences. You met these people.
Yeah.
Kind of got into the game, and talk to us from like 2011. You're in it now,
right? Yeah, so
what were those earlier
in the FGC? The first tournament I ever went to was Street Fighter 25th anniversary.
Okay.
And that was when I saw just how cruel this game could be. Because I was really starting to pick up Faye at that point.
Right.
It was a little bit before, but I'd always played a Bruce Lee character, so I liked Faye. And a boss was a very, very strong Faye player in SoCal. He doesn't really play too much anymore. He's actually finishing med school. So,
oh wow.
But yeah, he's a smart guy. He played Faye Long. That's how you know he's a genius.
Well, there's some out there who would say that you're,
man, we call those people haters.
Yeah.
We call those people, 0-2 losers bracket. We don't got to worry about those.
0-2 losers.
But
that's vicious, man. That's terrible. You're like you're 0-2 losers bracket.
Face squad for life. But yeah, so a boss played against Mike Ross, and a boss got the folks that he was. I think it was like last round. A boss was on match point, and Mike had to win 2 more rounds to win.
Okay, so Mike was on tilt.
A boss had him. He got the focus attack. He dashed up. He had Ultra. The Ultra would have killed for sure, no question about it.
Right.
And then, a boss like Fei Long is like on the screen, hits the focus, dashes up, and then he just starts like like throwing his hands out, and he hits the taunt button. He tried to do ultra, and his fat summer sausage fingers hit the fucking taunt button.
No.
And Mike Ross got up and hit him with like the most beefiest combo of all time. And this was still in super. So this was like the good Honda. So he got like, low jab, EX hands, low jab, EX, and whatever the hard combo was that does like half health. Mike Ross hit that on a boss, and he lost. And then he was like so mentally shook that he lost the next round also. And Mike took it over a boss. And I was sitting there with Valiant. We both saw that. And we just like looked over and we were like, yo, never bind taunt button. Like just take that off. Like just don't even mess with it. So that was like,
so from that day on, I never played with the taunt button.
Yeah. I always turned off taunt. Yeah, that was like the first big tournament for me. And then the first major I went to was SCR. And I roomed with UCLA player, Valiant, a Mark Teddy, and a Marvel player named Dynasty.
Okay.
And that was a crazy tournament. There was so much shit that happened. It would be like a whole hour-long podcast episode just talking about what happened at that SCR. But there was a whole bunch of crazy shit. It was a really great introduction to the FGC.
Awesome, man. So now, again, jumping forward, you're attending Wednesday night fights frequently now. You're a frequent face. You're a host and commentator of the Nick Tanella stream. How do you feel over these years, like with your popularity growing and then winning 2 Wednesday night fights, which is very important. So let's talk about that.
Yeah,
the growing popularity, and also changing in characters, especially as well too. I wanna that's very key.
Yeah.
What was the mindset behind going from Birdie to Karen?
So I'll start with the second question first. So switching characters, I really felt like Birdie is not necessarily a bad character. He definitely has some tools that are unique to him. Like he has frame 1 armor. Most other characters don't really have a reversal like that. And his damage output, of course, is ridiculous, right?
So stupid.
Yeah, it's true, stupid. But that's the thing about Birdie is he's kind of stupid. He's if you are going to win consistently with the character, then your random factor has to be better than your opponent's consistently. And you have to play in a way that's not necessarily logical. Sometimes you just have to have a feeling like, fuck it, I know he's going to try to throw. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just going to do this fucking super dumb, unsafe EX headbutt because it's going to kill him. And if you can pull that off consistently, then you will win with Birdie. If your random factor is really good. But I know myself as a player, and I know that's not how I play the game.
You're much more technical and...
I like footsies too much, man. I much prefer to kind of play ground game with somebody.
Okay.
And kind of take a more consistent approach to matchups.
And you saw that better put to use with Karen.
I kind of had a misconception, and it actually
ended
up in a. I picked Karen to beat Chun-Li, which now the game is a little bit older, and everyone tech is a bit more discovered. Karen does not beat Chun-Li. That is for sure. That is, nobody. I feel like that's kind of undeniable.
Yeah, we were just looking at some video. It's pretty.
It's a hard matchup. It's not unwinnable, but I think it's kind of tough to give an advantage to Karen if you were to give one. But it actually ended up in a coin toss. So at West Coast Warzone, I looked at my pool. And I think it was 5 days before the tournament, and Commander Jesse was in there, who at the time I was convinced the Birdie Dowson matchup was 7-3, because I had examined it with Commander Jesse and with Tatsu Shoryu.
Yeah.
And I just looked at the risk reward in different situations, and I thought if you place yourself, in these spots on the screen as Dowson, there's almost no way for Birdie to get big damage. The only damage he can get is minimal.
Okay.
So I can't play that match. And then I also had Crack Fiend or Hype Fiend now.
Yeah.
He was in my pool and he played Chun. So I'm like, Birdie Chun is worse than how Karen Chun is now. Birdie Chun is still a harder matchup than that. So I'm like, I can't pick Birdie and really expect myself. I can't pick Birdie and expect to beat both of these players because they were on opposite sides. So I had to play Crack Fiend first or Hype Fiend, and then I would have to play Jesse afterwards.
Okay.
So I told myself it would be foolish to go into 2 very hard matchups. I would have to practice another character. And I had been playing Vega a bit before the game's release, and then I dropped him because I felt like he didn't really have enough tools to consistently win.
Okay.
And I wanted to pick somebody cheap because playing Fei Long for so long in Ultra, he was not as good of a character as he was before. But
right.
I loved the design of face so much. You know, like not just the play style, which was
the
which
physicality, his movements.
yeah,
and,
he was Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
exactly what that is what I love in fighting games. Bruce Lee characters for the most part, you know. So, I didn't want to do the same thing where I just picked a character because I thought they were cool, and then have to deal with really tough matchups. So, I'm like, yo, I'm just gonna go to the cheap stuff, and I thought Birdie was the cheap stuff, and he definitely is. He definitely is cheap, but not against those matchups. So I told myself, all right, I'm either gonna play Vega or Karen. And I legitimately couldn't decide which one would be a better choice. So I flipped a coin. And it landed on Tails, which was for Karen. And that's just how it went. And I practiced Karen. I actually beat Hype Fiend with like my day 3 Karen.
Really?
Which was pretty interesting. He beat me in the run back, but it was last game, last round. And that was day 3 Karen. So I was like, okay, maybe I can, do something with this character if I'm getting these types of results. So that's kind of where it stemmed from. I was messing around with Vega and Nash and a little bit of Ryu and Ken, but Karen just seemed like a character that was really cheap and easy to use. So
I don't know about the easy to use. I feel Karen is one of those characters that she's execution heavy, and she's easy to use if you already know how to play to a certain level and to a certain extent.
I can see that.
But if you're just fresh off the boat, wet behind the ears kind of thing, much like Yuri now, which we're not going to get into because she's still too new to form an accurate opinion.
I completely agree.
Like she's not noob friendly. I played around with Karen before. Like she's awesome character.
Yeah, but
I can tell that she can do a lot of shit that I can't do. And I just can't do it, so I can't use it to the best of her ability, and I just won't be able to do it. But I think she's a pretty decent character. Like, so you basically, switching from Birdie to her, and it just fit your play style, your idea of how it's cool, dude.
Sorry, man.
Of how you want to approach the game. This is not esports. This is FGC, so it's cool. You said you switched because of how you wanted it to approach the game. So how has that helped you in terms of successful results doing that switch over these past few months?
I think having like a new perspective is definitely like the biggest thing. Really, more so than the character switch was just kind of being able to say, all right, maybe Birdie was holding me back.
Okay.
Maybe there were some things that I was feeling, but if I'm losing with this character now, it's not the character, it's me.
Okay.
So there's no more excuses. If I was wrong about Birdie, if I was wrong about the character holding me back and I started losing, and which did happen for the first little bit with Karen, because kind of learning the character, still picking her up. There's no more excuses. It's no longer the character; it's a player thing.
Right.
And I think that clarity of switching characters really helped me kind of get out of that mental rut of like, because that's happening so much with so many otherwise really strong players in this game, is they'll just blame the character because they don't want to admit that they are bad. Or not necessarily that they're bad, right? Because they're still good players, but the mistakes that they're making or the assumptions that they're making about the game that may not be correct. Right. There's a lot of players that don't want to face that, and they'll just blame, A-frame delay, or this character's broken, my character sucks, my character can't anti-air.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I wanted to discuss in terms of through the aspects of kind of tech and how people are probably incorrectly approaching Street Fighter. I feel like a lot of people kind of coming into this game and kind of like what you said, I feel like there's a lot of, because it has a pretty decent just pick it up ability and enjoy it, but it plays it very, very different from 4.
That is absolutely
and
true.
I absolutely agree with that assessment because I have that same assessment of a lot of people who are just playing this game and they're complaining. It's just like, no, you have to realize that this is a different game.
Exactly.
And you also have to realize that this game is gonna change, it's gonna grow, it's gonna evolve over the next coming months. And it's been out for maybe 6 months now, 7 months or something like that. So in the next year and a half, when we have another conversation, we're going to be looking at a completely different game. And I feel like, do you think a lot of the rhetoric that's generally hurled at Street Fighter right now is kind of like undue because we tend to have short memories in the FGC sometimes in terms of like, dude, vanilla SF was garbage.
That game sucked. Yeah, that game had Akuma.
Yeah,
that game was so broken. Like Ryu had trade DP. It was so dumb. You just mash DP, and if it traded, you got Ultra. And if it didn't trade, then like whatever, you got knockdown. You start running set play.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like a lot of people are kind of like unjustly doing it. Do you think though, as a community, we need to kind of be on it more? Because I know Valle is doing it. You know, I know Vicious is doing it. I know you're doing it. Different people are kind of like, making those bold statements to say, no, it's not the character. Maybe it's you. Maybe you need to go back to the drawing board. Maybe you need to rethink your approach. Yeah. Maybe you need to rethink your tech. Do you think there's not enough of those voices in the community right now?
Absolutely.
Which would kind of like lay waste to that, I
mean, I think it's kind of a circle jerk,
Yeah.
To a certain extent, and it's also because you have people who are your friends that are saying these things. And you can try to check them, but then they'll get mad at you. They'll be like, "Oh, what the fuck's your problem, dog? Like this game sucks, bro." Yeah. And they'll just go back to playing, Guilty Gear or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, it's kind of it's a tough problem because it stems from the community, and you can't. These are adults, you can't force them to do anything.
Right.
Like if somebody's being a shithead, you could tell them they're being a shithead, but they can just tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's unfortunate is how I feel because vanilla sucked balls. The first version of Street Fighter 3 sucked balls.
Yes.
Street Fighter 2 kind of sucked balls also, but like Super Turbo is still very unbalanced, but
selective
it was
memory.
Balanced in the fact that it was broken. Every character was broken, but the first versions of games are always not that good.
Exactly. Exactly.
And people are at selective memory, as you're saying, they're very easy, very quick to forget that, and they're judging Street Fighter 5 a little bit too harshly. I'm not saying no, wait for the next patch. This game's gonna be dope. Yeah. But right now, if you compare it to the first releases of every other Street Fighter game, this game is significantly better.
I would agree. I am not as well versed in it to make that bold assertion on my own, but I would agree because that's how I feel. Yeah. Does it make sense? Because I feel like I'm not qualified enough to make that assertion on my own, to stand on it, to have it have any kind of validity. But I feel like people like you who are kind of like been more consistent in playing these games of late, and like Valle and Vicious and Valiant and you guys, if you get it, like, and I know it may not make sense, but the reason why I'm saying this, I think it's very important for people to understand this in the community, is that like sometimes you got to realize your ignorance.
Yeah.
And it's a hard meta thing to do, and you have to realize, and I don't have that problem. Like, I'm fine realizing when I'm ignorant on something, because it then helps me to not be ignorant, Exactly. Because then I'm going to be like, I want to learn a little bit more. And I feel like from what I've learned so far is that people are unjust and they're just kind of complaining for the sake of complaining.
Yeah.
And do you think that's one of the problems, which is kind of like, ooh, beautiful segue, which is kind of, the topic of toxicity that's been coming up recently in FGC, with people just being overly negative and just kind of, the whole circle jerk thing. Fuck this character, fuck this person, fuck this, fuck that.
Yeah.
But not giving necessarily any intelligent responses to why their response would be a fuck that. For example, when Vi just recently tweeted out to someone when they were like, "Oh, jury sucks."
Yeah.
And Vi is like, "Are you qualified to make that assessment?"
Ooh.
And the person replied, "Oh, but she sucks though." And Vi was just like, "Well, maybe you suck." And I feel like that kind of conversation needs to happen more in the community.
I completely agree. Yeah.
We need to have more of that, like, hey man, this person is like, okay, like, because that's how I feel. Like a lot of times, like when I don't do something, whether I win or lose, but I'm generally like, oh, I kind of messed up on that. I should have.
Yeah. Like, you always could have played better.
Yeah.
Regardless of the situation.
Like I just made some really stupid choices. Dude, I lost to a jury online the other day. That was garbage.
Oh man. Haven't we all?
And I said to myself, I was just like, I made really bad decisions.
Yeah.
I was upset, but I was upset at myself.
Yeah.
Because I was like, dude, you made stupid decisions. Like I'm looking at myself and I'm like, oh, you like to jump, so I'm gonna counter you when you jump. And I just kept missing the counters.
Yep.
And I understood that was me, because
that's true, yeah.
I was aware enough to understand what I was supposed to be doing in that time, and
Yeah.
I was not executing it the way that I should be.
And that's the players that are going to get better is the ones that see that. You know, I mean, it's not to say that if you bitch and moan about shit that you're not going to get better, because it could be one of those situations like, let's say that same example, right? A jury's jumping in and you tried to anti-air but you fucked up.
Yeah.
A player could be like, jury's jump-ins are so retarded you can't anti-air them. And then they'll go into training mode out of just the hatred and anger of the character and just try to find an answer for it. And then maybe they'll have some sort of answer. But in their heart of hearts, or vocally, they'll still say that match is 7-3 jury favor. Or, you'll have a player who will be like, yeah, I fucked up. I'm going to go into training mode and see, like, how should I anti-air jury? Like, what are the best ranges and what buttons to press? It's going to accomplish the same thing.
Right.
But the thing is, the effect that the mindset will have on the viewers, it's not so much the players, right? Because the player wants to win. He can bitch and moan about the game all he wants. If they put the time in to figure out what they have to do, even if they think that every match, if they think Ken loses to Chun 9-1, which is the meme going around because Chris said that, then Chris is going to go in the lab and figure out what he can do against Chun, because he's not just going to sit there and be
just
a bitch.
take it.
He's going to figure out how to win, because they're at the end of the day, these players are competitors.
Right.
But when they go on Twitter and they complain about shit like that, and they say that it's impossible, then you have players that maybe don't understand the game as well, that play, the same characters they play, and they'll be like, yeah, this matchup is 9-1 because this guy said it.
Exactly, and they're playing those characters because those people that they like or they look up to are playing those characters.
They have influence. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, is you're not talking about like Olympic athletes who have handlers, and have coaches specifically for social media. These are just people.
So what would you say to counter that? What would you say to a person right now who's on Twitter reading all these somewhat negative and, maybe even tonally ignorant comments regarding the game and specific characters? What would you say to that person? If like I was that person, I was like, what, I'm thinking about picking up Street Fighter, but these people are saying all this shit, about this character or whatever. Like, what would you say to me to kind of be like, hey man, no, like just go in and do this and pick it up and try it out?
I would just say that people are bitches, and that they just, like you can't listen. There's always going to be some dude that complains the quarterback is like the cheapest, position of all time. You don't even have to do anything. You just throw a ball. That's it. Right? Yeah. But it's like, obviously it's way fucking harder to be a quarterback in football. You're kind of in charge of the whole team. You have to kind of plan out the plays. A good quarterback, at least. I don't know why I chose football as an example. I don't know anything about football.
Yeah, neither do I. But it's okay.
It's okay. The point
is,
you can shit on anything.
Yeah,
basically, you can summarize something to sound stupid, no matter what the fuck it is. Like even like like super complex electrical work. Like let's say you're wiring up a building, right?
Yeah.
You just you just fucking take a wire, run it through some shit, and then you plug it in. There you go. You put electricity in a building.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
That's not how it works. Right? But I mean, technically, that's what you're doing, right? You're just running wires through a building.
Yeah.
But it's way more fucking complex than that.
Yeah, unless you want your building to blow up.
Yeah, exactly. But you can, if you wanted to just shit on it like that, you could, and that's what people are doing with Street Fighter. They're just gonna be like, yeah, man, you just pick Chun-Li, you do instant legs, which is not necessarily untrue.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's definitely more complex. You can't just pick up Chun and not play fighting, and not be good at fighting games and win with that character.
Right.
That's the thing about Street Fighter 5. You still have to be at least intermediate,
right,
to play the top tiers and see success with them.
Right.
I think that's where a lot of people's gripes with Street Fighter 5 is coming in, is that you can just be an intermediate player. And pick up a character like Chun or Ryu and do really good with them. Or Mika is another great example, is because their snowball is so strong.
Fuck you guys, Mika is awesome.
Exactly. But every game has characters with really strong snowball.
Yeah.
Akuma was a great example of that. All you needed was one sweep, and then you have Vortex. Ibuki, Kami, Viper. These are all characters where if your neutral game is not that good, but your setups are very good, you can have a lot of success in tournament.
You see, you said something right there. If your neutral game, I think that the problem is a lot of people don't actually understand tech. And are you seeing that as a problem as well too?
For sure. Yeah.
As to the failures of some of these people, like they're just not understanding basic tech. Yeah. And that's probably a part of their issue in terms of their failures to see any kind of like success from their characters.
Yeah, I mean, I think a perfect example of that is Momochi. So Momochi was considered like the best Cody and everybody thought he was the best Cody. Like, he was beating Rufus's with Cody, and that match was very tough. You couldn't really do a lot about Rufus's options, and people are like, yeah, his neutral game is just so godlike. Which I'm not taking anything away from Momochi's neutral game. Of course, it was very good, but the way that he was consistent with that character was option selects. He had. If he knocked somebody down, he had like 5 options covered. You like with a secret bomb launch code, and then if you backdash, you got zonked. If you jumped, you got tornadoed.
Yeah,
he covered all the options with these different option selects that nobody could see. You're not looking at his hands. You're just seeing what happens on the screen. You're like, yo, Momochi made the right read every time. No, he had tech. He had tech that made it defensively where he covered 3 options, and offensively he covered 5. So, but you don't see that because it's very hard to perceive if you're not playing at a high level.
Right.
And in Street Fighter V, it's a little more obvious to see, jump back OS tech. You can see, oh yeah, he jumped back and he escaped like 5 options. Or you can see the spacing on instant air legs, how it's very hard to stop. This is a little more obvious to see. So people are kind of maybe a little more frustrated with Street Fighter V, maybe disillusioned, I suppose, because they're seeing. It's not in tournament. It's not so much about being the better player. That's the key thing. It's about getting that win in a 2 out of 3 format. So if you have like a dirty setup, if you have really hard to stop set play, if you have option selects that are very hard to see or very hard to shut down, those are the things that you would need or that you would look for to win in tournaments. And that's why the Japanese are so good, is because they have so much more knowledge of matchups and of setups. And it's, I think that's a lot of players don't really look for that when they're watching matches. And now they're really mad at Street Fighter V because maybe it's a little more.
And I've said this before too, man. I honestly feel like people look at names. They play names.
Yeah, for sure.
They'll go into a tournament and they'll just focus on the name of the person and not, the character and tech and different things like that. To like, oh my gosh, I'm playing Momochi.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I'm playing Chris G. Oh my gosh, I'm playing this person. And what I like about the Japanese culture, and I always tell people this, and I've said this a couple times in the podcast too, Japanese game culture, they don't give a shit who you are.
Yeah.
They'll just like come in and get bodied. That's what they're about. And I really, and I say this all the time to people, and I'm like, they're like, man, they're so good, and why are they so good, and this and that. I'm like, because they have celebrities, they respect them, they enjoy them, and different things like that. But they don't view gaming celebrities the way that we do. They don't view them as like, oh my God, I'm playing. They're like, okay, I'm playing you, and you're about to get this work. It's just that simple. Like, you're gonna get it, and then you're gonna have to go away. And I feel like in many ways with Street Fighter, it could be a possibility of that kind of happening. The characters and how the game works now, I think, to the chagrin of some more experienced players, a lot of people can kind of pick it up, and if they're decent, do kind of target combos, especially with Ken, and do a lot of stupid setups, a lot of okies, and but I was looking at a YouTube video the other day of a YouTuber streamer guy.
YouTuber streamer guy.
Yeah, he's just YouTuber streamer guy.
Respect.
And he said something that left me puzzled and kind of head scratchy. And this is continuing on the topic of tech. He said that there's no such thing as reads in Street Fighter, and that reads is bullshit. Now, let me just say this. I already see your face.
Yeah.
And regrettably, I didn't get to ask Vicious this when he was on the show, but I've asked Vicious. He blatantly said it was bullshit before he went on to explain why.
Okay.
I spoke to Jesse. He said that was a stupid statement. I spoke to Black Skills. He said that was a stupid statement. I spoke to Dr. Stance. Stupid. They're all basically all these people and a few other, high level players. They're all like, that's stupid. Of course they are. Like,
yeah, of course it's reads.
Yeah, that's a moronic thing to say. Why do you think, if you think you can even fathom that level of thinking and that level of ignorance, why do you think someone would even say that?
I'm going to start out by saying he's not necessarily wrong. And the reason why is because at high level, when you look at any competitive sport, especially one-on-one matches, I'll take boxing as an example. boxers will pick their fights 6 months in advance, 7 months in advance.
Right.
Now, of course, that's for training and getting the fighting shape, but you can do that in 2 months. You can stay in fighting shape and then be like, okay, here's your match.
Right.
But the reason why they're planned ahead so far is because they study their opponent.
Right.
They watch what they do.
Okay.
It's a test essentially. Once they go into the match, it's a test.
Right.
So you look for habits, you look for tendencies, you look how do they deal with this situation as this character. And once the match actually starts, especially in high level, it's not so much of like I have a feeling like I could feel it. He's gonna jump. It's like you've watched so many hours of this person play in preparation for this moment that you know that there's like an 80% likeliness that they're gonna jump in this situation.
Right.
It's not a read. It's studied. It's practiced. So from that perspective, I can understand that there are no reads from that mindset, and especially once you factor in option selects. Once there's an unknown, you don't have to guess. You know, you can cover multiple options in one.
I like that approach, and that's a much more sophisticated approach than this person. I mean, a swine rolling around in slop is much more sophisticated than this particular person. But, you know, when he said it, he was just like, basically like, it's bullshit. It's all guessing.
Isn't that a read though? Well, this person sounds dumb, but if they were talking about it like from the other way, that was pretty smart. I can totally see that.
You know, my apologies for not necessarily completing that, but you know, there's a video up, and most people in the community will probably know who I'm talking about, so they're gonna try to go.
Man.
But there's a video
idea.
of this person. You have no idea, yeah, right. You know, there's a video of him saying that, and I kind of was just like, he's like, you know, it's all guessing, it's all, you know, there's no such thing. It's like you get lucky, but I feel like even your sophisticated approach lends more to the credence in the idea that there are reads, and I'll tell you why, because you use the boxing analogy.
Right.
Because even when you study, it's like, and it may be semantics, but it's called tells.
Right.
And that's where you look for, especially tells in card games and different things like that. And understand that when you're playing at that high level, and because you've studied your opponent, you're looking for tells. And I did it in like jiu-jitsu when I used to do jiu-jitsu as a kid and things like that. Like those are things that we look for, how a person moves, so we can kind of know where they're going to strike and kind of like what they're going to do. Mindset. Different tells. Those essentially are reads though.
They I mean,
but I kind of understand, like I understand what I definitely see what you're talking about in terms of like it's a case study. It's just not you coming in there fresh and you're like, oh, I know you're gonna jump kind of thing. I definitely get it.
That's the thing is a lot of players kind of have misconceptions of reads and like, yo, how did he know? How did Daigo know that, you know, he was gonna do this thing? It's because Daigo spends 10 hours a day practicing Street Fighter. Now, practicing Street Fighter does not mean playing online. Yeah. It does not mean playing Street Fighter even. Practicing Street Fighter could be just watching match videos and just seeing the tendencies of players. And that's the real difference, I feel, between the super consistent top players and the players that will do well every now and then.
And the people who rage quit.
And the people, those diamonds, shout out to them shining bright diamonds.
Yeah.
You know, the people who are really consistent, especially at high level majors, at CPT level events, premieres, they are watching their opponents and they're studying these people.
Right.
So it's, you know, a lot of people are not that dedicated. They don't even look at the game that way. You know, they're still seeing it as like, yeah, I'm just play a video game. You know,
and that's that's kind of how I've always viewed it. You know, because like I've always viewed reads from the perspective of like it's work, so you kind of know what someone's gonna do, or you can you're reading in terms of like I'm leading you to perform a particular action.
Yeah, because you know. You did a specific block string and they jumped this time, so they're gonna jump the same. They're gonna do the same thing next time. But the thing is, you have some players they're not even thinking about it, you know.
Yeah.
But that's how they make those reads is because they see how they react to that block string the first time. You know, many times before they've seen it in replays, match replays, and especially with CFN, you can't hide anymore. Yeah. In Street Fighter 4, you could say, you know, don't upload the match. Yeah. You know, and so nobody could watch it. But in Street Fighter 5. You can go to anyone's profile and watch the ranked matches, the battle lounge, and the casual matches. And you cannot hide in this game. So people are watching people. I mean, I've done it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's a lot of people that I got the CFN saved. You know, that's why there's so many Japanese players that have weird, random account names. You know, like Sako's Option 9. Yeah. Where did that even come from? You know what I mean? And MOV has a really weird account name. I'm not gonna blow it up, but you know, there's a lot of like secret PSN accounts that people are, they're playing it on the down low because they know that people want to watch them. They want to watch the CFN, see tendencies of players. Yeah, it's a crazy thing, man.
How do you feel about that? About that idea that you're kind of like, big brother, big gaming brother is always kind of watching you.
It's
you can't
definitely
necessarily keep anything to yourself.
Yeah, no, you cannot. Not anymore. It's definitely interesting. I know in StarCraft this has kind of been a problem, and the pros in StarCraft, because they have to play on stream, right? And people will look for their gamer tags. So what they do is they'll just make their tags barcode. So they'll do like the what's the one that's is it it's not hyphen, but the one it's like a straight. It's not a slash. It's not slanted.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So it's that one. It's just a bunch. It looks like a barcode essentially, and maybe there's some I's and some lowercase L's in there to make it really hard to copy and really hard to find. And I think people are starting. I don't even think people are starting to do that in Street Fighter V because it's it's a real thing. Momochi even admitted it because they were asking like how do you play so consistent? How do you do against a player that? What would you do if you've never played it or if you've never seen a player, or never heard of them before, and you had to play against them? And Momochi said, honestly, I probably would not play as well because I have to. A big part of my play is knowing my opponent and studying them. And if you don't have that information, I mean, how else are you going to make reads on somebody? 2 out of 3 is not long enough to start making reads. Yeah. There's so many unknowns and situations that you've never encountered before. You have to study your opponent before playing them to be able to make reads in 2 out of 3 scenarios.
Yeah, variables. Yeah.
Yeah, there's too many variables.
Yeah. Man, that's so interesting, man. That's it's and this is good. Like I'm glad we're covering that kind of like tech aspect, that higher level aspect of it. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people who kind of discuss the game, they kind of keep it somewhat pedestrian, and it's not fair.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's not fair to the people, and it's not fair to the game. Now we kind of touched on this earlier, but we kind of went off a little bit. We didn't get to talk about it. I want you to discuss really quickly. Your Wednesday night fights, your 2 wins, man. Talk about that because that's big. Yeah. Like 2 wins, and you were interviewed on the stage. But who was it? Was it James Chen at one point?
Yes. Yeah, I got pulled up for an interview. That was pretty cool.
So talk about that, man.
Yeah. So kind of touching on what I was talking about before with the losses. With Karen, I picked up a new character. I started losing. It wasn't like, it's free. It's press down roundhouse. It's just a crush counter. But like, it was a little more difficult than that. So, I just kind of really went back to the drawing board and was like, okay, why am I losing? What am I doing? I watch my own replays. I watch replays of other Karens. I watch the people who I'm going to have to play against to see like, how can I approach this? And I noticed a couple of habits in my play that I can eliminate and some habits in theirs that I can exploit. And I kind of developed a different style of Karen than what I was playing before. It was more like a mixture of like Mago and Justin to kind of blow up the habits specifically of the people at Wednesday Night Fights. And it worked. It worked. I won. I beat Valle twice. Yeah. I 3-0'd. Yeah, and Jesse, he knows he has been my demon. Like, he's been consistently bodying me in Street Fighter 4 because he played 7-3 matchups. Fucking Sakura, stupid ass character. And then in 5, I definitely think that Karen can handle Dowson pretty well, but Jesse is just a very strong player. He's you can never take that away regardless of the matchup. I mean, he's dealing with Rashid's as Dowson. That's ridiculous. But I really looked at his play and looked at Karen and my tools, and I practiced against Tatsu Shoryu, Justin. He was very very helpful in that. Like I definitely would not have an understanding of Dowson to that level without the people that I play with. And I just kind of I took a approach like, okay, I want to win. I'm going to win. I know that these players, no offense, they're definitely very strong players. They're great American players, but internationally they can't beat internationals consistently. So they're not unbeatable. That's what that means. Right. There's another level of play higher than what they're at. So I'm not trying to say like, the people at Wednesday Night Fight suck, but if I'm going to take Street Fighter seriously, if I'm going to sacrifice the time that I could be putting into music to play Street Fighter, then I'm not going to aim for American. I don't want to like Ken, how Ken is like the best in America, and that's a petty title or whatever. That's how I feel. If I'm going to play this game seriously, I don't want to be at American competition level. Yeah,
you want to level up to a global perspective. Yeah. Definitely.
It's possible, there's American players who are doing it. Knuckle Dew, Snake Eyes. There's a lot of really strong American players that they're seeing the difference between the way Americans approach the game and the way that internationals approach the game, and they're opting to go the international route. And it's a little bit harder at first, especially, But I think once you start to kind of get a hang of it, it becomes a little bit easier to emulate it. And create your own style.
Jeremy kind of touched on that, man, about the international scene kind of like having gems, because I asked him to comment about that when he did, when he discussed his CPT commentary. And he was just like, Latin America has like some serious gems and people doing some seriously good work out there. So it's interesting, man. I can't wait to see what the future holds for this game. Yeah, man. I think that people really need to give it a chance and not be so asshole-ish and always complaining about shit. But yeah, man, like what else? Man, I think we basically covered it. Yeah, good talk, man.
Yeah, that was solid.
Yeah, talk a little bit about the music, searching up characters. Yeah. Before we go though, you were watching a video about something that happened last night, because we had Wednesday night fights last night. Even though by the time this goes up, this is gonna be like next week or something like that. Time warp, people, time warp.
It's some point in time.
Yeah, time warp. You faced off against a person that you've been having issues with.
Yes.
You didn't do so well. Like, where are you at emotionally with that? Like, when you're facing those kind of things that you feel like you're seeing progress in all these other areas, but this one person, you just feel like, why the hell do I keep stubbing my toe on this thing? Like,
I mean, I think it's I don't like to go to excuses, but it's one of those things where I'm really just trying to think of like, what are the different variables? What is different this week that stopped me from, being able to play the way I want to play? And both of the times that I lost to this person that's taking me out, I got little to no sleep the day before. So I'm thinking, if I have less sleep and I have to play against somebody who tests my reactions, it's gonna be a problem. I have to figure out some way around that, because I can't guarantee that I'm gonna be able to get sleep every day. Especially with the way that my work goes and how late Wednesday night fights is. I had to work at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. I had casual sessions the night before that went. I wasn't able to sleep until like 2 or 3, basically.
Jeez.
Which it's not that bad, but if I have to work at 9, then I got to wake up at 7:30. So it's like
it's a little bit rough.
4.5 hours of sleep. And then I, normally if that happens, I'll go take a power nap. But some other shit went down and I wasn't able to take a power nap. So my reactions are going to be slowed, undoubtedly. Right. I know this. Right. So I have to play in a different style. And I think that's something that I kind of need to tackle, is like, regardless of outside circumstances, I need to make sure that when I play Street Fighter, I can play to the best of my ability. Right. Because I know when I'm not playing to the best of my ability. And I could definitely feel that I wasn't last night. And it's frustrating and it's unfortunate. And I don't want to just look at that and say, oh, yeah, well, I just lost because I was sleepy. I'm going to look at the matches. I'm going to see how I'm approaching the matchup and see if I can change that in any way. Right. But I don't want to just count that out, because I feel like every tournament where I felt like, man, I'm playing weird, I don't know why I'm playing so bad, I have not gotten enough sleep the night before. Okay. At Evo I did pretty good. I got like 8 hours of sleep. Both Wednesday night fights that I won, I had gotten more than 8 hours of sleep. So it's sleep is one of those things where a lot of people don't really pay attention to it, but it's so huge with the mental thing.
You know what? I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because that's something that I wanted to ask you about, and I completely forgot. Oh man, it's gonna be like the longest like lead out ever. But I don't want to, finish this show without asking you this. Yeah. Evo, 2016. Yeah. Evo. What were your thoughts, man? Like, how'd you feel? How'd you feel you did? Like, were you, what was your experience like overall?
I mean, I got the same placing this year as I did last year. I mean, placing doesn't really matter so much to me. It's more like, who did I beat and who did I lose to? Okay, that's more how I track my progress. In terms of my performance at Evo, definitely a little disappointed. I definitely feel like I could have done better. I had to play against Justin Wong kind of early on. Okay, and he, even not taking anything away from Justin, I got Wong factored. It doesn't really happen that often, but it was one of those things where I didn't think I was going to have to play Justin. Yeah. And then I was like, oh shit, I got to play Justin. I'm going to scramble and improvise some plan. And looking back, it wasn't the best plan. And it kind of crumbled when we were playing, because he wasn't doing what I expected him to. And then I ran it through in losers. I got a couple of people, and then I had to go against a Korean player named NL. And he's a very good Ryu. Went last game, last round. But he was very much ready for the Karen matchup, and he was kind of blowing me up for kind of common Ryu versus Karen things that I wasn't ready for.
Okay.
And that that's what's so huge about tournament is being ready for different situations.
And that's the whole international thing as well too.
Exactly. They spend a lot of money to get to America and to play in Evolution, and you better be damn sure that those common scenarios they're gonna have down. They're gonna have anti-pool tech. You know, they're not gonna try to lose in pools. They're gonna lose. It's gonna be to some shit they've never seen before.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than the actual tournament, Evo was okay. I think it maybe wasn't as good as last year's Evo in terms of location for sure. I didn't get to go to the Sunday finals because some very stupid situation of somebody selling. I was with a group and we were all gonna go, and then the dude took all of our tickets and sold all of them. So he got the tickets for the group, and then last minute somebody offered him more money than what we were gonna pay him to go to the Sunday finals, and he left to Evo with borrowed money. And he lost money gambling, so he sold our tickets to get his money back. So I didn't get to go to the Sunday finals, so I'm still salty about that.
That's not even thuggery. That's like scumbaggery.
It's the scumbaggery. It's just straight up scumbaggery. But whatever. Water off a duck's back. It's like I had a good time in the hotel room with all the other salty friends.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah, big up to the homie Kizzy who was just on the show, Valiant.
Yeah. Shout outs to them. Well, no, they left by that point. Yeah, I didn't room with them.
Right? Yeah.
I was with the Costa Mesa people. I was with Lemon Crimes. I was with Coco.
Okay.
He's a Philadelphia dude. It was a cool. I was with the Blue Beagle also. Yeah, there's a bunch of cool people in that room.
Yeah.
But yeah, Evo. I didn't like the Las Vegas Convention Center at all. I didn't like the Westgate. It was way too far from the Strip. It was like once pools were done, if you wanted to take the monorail over to the Strip, monorail cuts off at 3.
Yeah.
And your pools got done at like 1. So, it takes 45 minutes to get to the Strip, and then you can be there for like 20 minutes. And then you got to get back on the monorail unless you want to, walk like a mile and a half to get back to your hotel. So it was
200-degree heat.
Yeah, exactly. It was pretty lame. At the convention center, but Evo itself, the actual event, was pretty cool. I liked it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, man. It was my first Evo. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was sick. My hopes is to try to have it in one central place.
That would be dope.
On the Strip. I really think. I know that logistically, that can be some issues. There can be some issues there. So I'm fair in terms of judgment of that. But overall, I honestly think like. We can, if they do it in a central location, and I'm talking about the tournaments and finals.
Yeah.
Oh man, it'll be a beautiful thing.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it'll be absolutely beautiful thing, man. Dude, I'm glad that you had fun anyway. Aside from that scumbag selling selling you fucking tickets. Damn, that sucks, dude.
I know, right?
Asshole.
Yeah, that's what I feel.
Whoever you are, if you're listening to this episode, you probably end up listening to this episode because we're gonna post it everywhere. You're an asshole. Okay.
He's one of those guys that's like a little bit of a scumbag, but you still love him type of thing.
Yeah.
That's and I know that about him now.
Yeah.
So he's in that box.
That's what I was gonna say. I have the Zen philosophy of like, it's cool because when it comes to losing money and things like that, or losing material things, the value really doesn't matter to know the content of someone's character.
Yeah.
So because you learn the content of a person's character, you're just like, okay, cool now. So now I know that you're a scumbag.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm so cool with them,
Yeah, exactly. But it's cool. Yeah.
I know that about them.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm driving anywhere and like you got some weed on you in the car, I know that you're not driving with me. If you get pulled over, you're probably going to say it's mine.
Yeah, exactly.
So like we're done. All right. Anything else you want to tackle before we get out of here, man?
I mean, I just want to give a quick shout out. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
Shout outs to Valiant. Shout outs to Lemon Crime. Shout outs to Coco. I mean, thank you once again, man, for coming.
Dude,
over
it was a pleasure, man. It was a pleasure. Dude, it was
Yeah.
nice, man. You have a nice setup out here.
No,
man.
right?
This
It's
is
crazy,
like
dude. This place is
MTV
nice.
Cribs.
I know, man. This is where the magic happens.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, this is kind of dope, man. Definitely.
Thank you.
But before we get out of here, as usual, always ask the guests to give out their social media stuff and let the
Oh,
people
yeah.
know where they can reach you on the social media, man. Because you
Yeah.
have the Third Pixel podcast.
That is true. Yeah,
on-
actually, it's
on
a little
Twitch.
bit on hiatus. A little bit
Okay.
on hiatus, the podcast. But yeah, Monday nights. I'm thinking about starting it back up pretty soon. you can catch me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Wrathmatics. That's where the podcast will be also. And then the YouTube channel is also The Third Pixel on YouTube. And I got some more content. I'm actually editing things as we speak. I was doing it before you came over.
Okay, yeah. I saw you had the screens up.
Yeah, there's some videos coming down the pipeline with Valiant. And then also on Twitter, you can find me at T3P_Wrathmatics. So T3P is for the Third Pixel _.
Awesome.
Some dude took Wrathmatics. He's some beat maker in San Francisco. Fuck
Oh,
that guy.
really?
Yeah.
What is the Third Pixel? What is that a reference to?
The Third Pixel. So I needed to come up with a name that was like catchy and somehow related to gaming or tech in some way. And originally a friend of mine said Fuzzy Thumbs. And I was like, that's kind of cool, I guess, but like it wasn't quite. You know, it was kind of weird. And then the Third Pixel just kind of had like a nice ring to it. Yeah. And I looked it up on the internet and there was nothing for the Third Pixel. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll just go with that. Really, there was no story to it. It was just
Godlike.
like I needed a name.
Godlike. No, it's perfect because it works. It's great, man.
Yeah.
And as always, folks, I am your host, Milton. You can find me at Slovenly Gamer on Twitter, Slovenly Gamer on Facebook, slovenlygamer.com. And if you're listening to the podcast on iTunes, remember, folks, to like, share, and subscribe and show this, give the show some love. I love you guys eternally for it. Yeah. And that's been it, man. Another great episode with some FGC homies. It's been fun. Now it's back to the lab to try to figure out what outro music I'm going to put on this.
Ooh, all right.
Peace.
Yeah.